let me talk about Coowriter first because I think that I want to give some just overall context for those who have like been using Coowriter about sort of like where it's at, what it's good at, and what it struggles at, and what we're actively working on to bridge that gap, and then where we think it can go in the future. So the big thing about Coowriter that's currently important is that Coowriter runs on Plotdrive credits. I've seen like this causes a lot of confusion because let's say up here I'm in advanced mode. I've got my Anthropic key. I've got Claude 4 Sonnet connected, and then I am typing to Coowriter and it's draining my credits. And at a certain point, it's like, you need more credits to keep going. What's that about? I thought I put in my own API keys. So the takeaway here, I want to communicate two things. One, Coowriter is running on Plotdrive credits. You can see the costs in preferences right here. I recommend using Claude 4 Sonnet and not switching. I'll get into that in a moment. The second thing is Coowriter is definitely a work in progress. There's some things that it struggles with, like the model up here. We want to bring it to a point where we can allow you to connect your own API keys directly to Coowriter. We want to bring it to a point where we can expose what it's doing behind the scenes so you can actually see like how it is creating what it is creating, very similar to how you can see the prompting for buttons. But it's not there yet, like the engineering work that we have behind the scenes to get it to a place of reliability. It's a work in progress. So like we want to get it reliable and stable in all the basic operations and then give you more control over that. I think the third thing that I would say is that for those of you who have your own API keys, when Coowriter uses an add content tool, when it writes into the document, it will use your API keys. So it'll use a Plotdrive credit. It'll use, like, let's say you have Claude 4 Sonnet selected. It will use that in its messaging. It will use that in its decision making around like which tool it should use based on what you want to do. And then it will use whatever model you've selected up here, whether it's your own API keys or if you're in simple mode, one of the Plotdrive credit models, it will use what's selected to write into the document. So these are some eccentricities of Coowriter that I don't think are obvious right now. The other thing about Coowriter in terms of how you can control it better, we've added this at function. This at function, you can think of it a bit like the toggles with buttons where, when you flick this on, it controls what the button knows about your work, what goes into the prompt. So the at is a very similar feature with Coowriter where if I want it to like, let's say, make a story Bible, I would be like, read chapters and make me a story Bible that summarizes the key beats of each chapter in a new document. And I put it on agent mode because I wanted to take action in a document. I'd probably switch it to like Claude 4 Sonnet because I think that'll do a better job. And let's try this out. And so that'll tell it, okay, I'm meant to read like your chapters folder. It doesn't pay attention to the toggles. And so it's two
Really?
separate systems.
Like
Like
taking out both.
these toggles, like they control the buttons. The at system controls what Coowriter knows. And Coowriter's tools for reading the document are a bit different than the buttons tools for seeing the document. So this is also a work in progress to make it better, but that's how you get control over Coowriter. Um, but that is how Coowriter works. I think Coowriter is probably more useful right now if we just totally zoom out and like, how am I going to use this to really like figure out how to have a stay in flow as long as possible and write the best book that I possibly can with the limited time I have to write. I would say it's probably best at like um, developmental editing, sort of talking about the things that you're working on. I think it's pretty great if you use it like almost like an interactive writing coach, like talk to it about what you're blocked by, talk to it about if you don't even know your block, like what might I be blocked by? I'm struggling with this. Like, and then use it as like almost like a writing GPS to be like, here's what I'm doing, here's where I want to go by the end of this session. Like, what should I focus on to bust that block and get there so I can do it? And then I think if you want really sophisticated control of what you're doing with the actual text inside the documents, I think buttons are far and away the way to go because they give you like complete full control over the instructions to the model. You can build your own workflows. You can eliminate prompt fatigue because you can just pin whatever is useful to you. And by the way, if you're here and you're like a longtime Plotdrive user, since we've teamed up with Russell, we developed a bunch of new buttons that are based on his frameworks. Like he's got a great book, Write Irresistible Books That Readers Devour. You can get these in your library if you just click import defaults and they'll all come in. You might have to do some cleanup, but you'll get all the new ones. And I think there's a bunch that are pretty useful that I found pretty useful. There's also this voice feature where you can like create a custom voice and put some text in, some samples of your work, other ideas that you want to develop a certain kind of voice for a new genre you're experimenting in. What this will do is essentially create like a voice you can use while working with Coowriter that will, when it adds content or when it edits content, it will add that to, it will consider that when it's like writing to the document. So if you're using Coowriter for a lot of writing and you enjoy doing that rather than relying on buttons, rather than maybe having like a writing style, like right here, I have a detailed kind of writing style document. It kind of gives examples. I would probably turn that on when I'm drafting rather than use the custom voice, but it's there if you want that. It's there if you're new to Plotdrive and wanted to like get your feel for how to work with the software and work with these models and trying to understand how can you get it to sound like you. That could be pretty helpful.
I would love to break in here, being as I've never been introduced to any of these people before, and say hi. So I've been working with Plotdrive uh, really for the last couple months, but officially starting this month. Um, I don't really know what my position is more than just like general direction human who can help you write better books. That's not really a great title. I don't like that title, but like chief book writing human, I don't know. But my job, I think, is to one, help us focus on the only thing we like, the most influenceable metric for us is helping you write better books. And so, like, all of these things are tools to help you write better books, better articles, better whatever you want, whatever you happen to be writing now, write it better to help you get in flow faster and stay in flow longer. So, I know that's like some technical jargon in a bit, but like, we just want you to make better books faster that resonate with you so that you like, if you have an idea, you can get it really quick. If you've got 10 minutes, you can move past the next thing. And I think for me, I've been using Plotdrive a lot. I'm editing a new book in it currently. And like buttons are really good when you know what your block is. But most humans like don't necessarily know what they want to do. And that's where I find Coowriter really helpful, especially in the ask mode. I wouldn't ask a co-writer to add new information to a document, so I don't ask like co-writer here to do that necessarily either. I do that, or like I have a button to do that, or I give it to my assistant to do whatever that thing is. So, like for me, where co-writer is really helpful is breaking through blocks either that you know you have and can't get over yourself or that you don't know that you have. If you watched our webinar that we did, in the practice part of the webinar, one of the really nice things was like we didn't know that there was like we were writing a cozy mystery book, and like we were like we probably need a sidekick here, like a familiar for like what we were doing, and so we had co-writer like go back and forth about like it was like a nautical fantasy cozy mystery, right? I think that was what we were doing. And it
Yeah.
was like, well, based upon this, like what is a good familiar? I'm like, I don't know what a good familiar is. If I knew a good familiar was an octopus, we wouldn't have asked co-writer to like list a bunch of different familiars. Then we did have the agent put it in a document for us as well, but like that is something I guess technically a button could do, but like a button wouldn't know that we wanted to make like that a familiar was necessarily important, like who the main character should be. So going back and forth, especially in the ask mode, has been really helpful for me. And then like using the buttons to like actually, oh, I need to make chapter one. Well, there's a button that I'm looking at right now in mine that says make outline, story bible, editing plan. Okay, like once I know I need those things, I can like click that button or like make chapter one. But most people get blocked, and writer's block, I think, is either is your body saying something's not right in this story, and I refuse to continue until you fix this. And it will start by a little inkling in the back of your mind, and it will slowly get to the point where like it will just stop your ability to write. And I know that may seem a little more woo-woo than a lot of you are used to, or like, but I've written 76 books at this point. Like I've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of authors get over their blocks. And while it is not true 100% of the time, in the vast majority of times what writer's block has become is something is not right here, and I know it's not right in the my monkey brain, but I don't know that I refuse to accept it. I just keep saying my like I'm just going to keep going as the fire burns around us, and we keep saying this is fine. And so what I'm excited about on my side is like AI gives you the ability to play your A game every time. Like I don't really have B games anymore or C games because I always have something that's editable that like is in my voice and like looks good. But what also happens in my brain when I'm meeting with a client or when I'm talking with a person is like I intuitively know what story is. And hopefully that's what like my half of this partnership is. It's like I know that if you're going to write a cozy mystery book, you need a character who is probably a woman, who is probably like in their 30s, 40s, or above, who has a pet familiar, who like does one of like a very cozy profession, who is probably like second. So I know all of these things so that when I go into the I have ultimate power to make this thing. And when I see something like, oh, AI is saying this. Well, that's not right. I know what's not right. I know what's right and not right so that I can correct it before I start editing it. And that's where I think co-writer can be really effective. Whereas, like, when I just need to edit a chapter or proof a thing, I can copy it, push a button, and hit proof this. And like, I don't need to go back and forth on proofing because it's the end of my journey. Once I when but meanwhile, if you hit that button that we made, it's like write chapter the first act. Suddenly you're like, okay, well, like, is this a good act? And I know from working with dozens of co-writers over my life that like we just because they write a good first act doesn't mean it is a good first act. And it's probably not because they're not good at writing a first act, it's because they missed something. And so my job is to take whatever this thing is that is written and be like, I don't know, like I don't and we did this in that webinar. I don't like this character. I don't know how I feel about this backstory. This doesn't feel right to me. And blocks generally come either intuitively because like you don't know what you don't know, or oh my God, I don't want to do this part. And I think on the first one, co-writer is really effective. Like I don't know what I don't know. These writers, these characters don't sound good. This other thing doesn't sound good. I don't know. Like this is not great. Like, can we talk about Murder She Wrote? So like, you could go into co-writer and say, like, I don't know, I want to make this more like Murder She Wrote. And it's like, okay, well, old lady in weird town where murders happen way more frequently than any human being should than it should happen to anyone. Like, or you can say, you know what, let's take some of the elements from Murder She Wrote and like I want to also add Monk. So I want them to be like a super noticer of things, like whatever that bit is. And you can start designing this world with with the co-writer part of it. This is where co-writers are super effective. They're good at doing brainstorming between two people. And if they are good, a good co-writer, when you offload things to them, they will come back after your conversation and give you something that you want. That's what I love co-writer so much because I think that has always been a very it's AI has always been very good for things for people that have high agency. I don't know if you know high agency versus low agency, but people who
Yeah.
like are like active and go-getters and blah blah blah. But a part of high agency is also I know how to do this thing. Like you can't be high agency like in like a high agency writer and like not eventually figure out how to do that thing. So like it's always been very highly defaulted to in order to get the most out of this AI, you have to know the thing you want to get out of this AI. And where I think that is never true with books or projects or the best projects when you start looking for them. It's always like I want to make this story. I have this idea. Like, what is going to keep me excited for 2 years to write it? Like, what is the blah, blah, blah other stuff? And that's where I think co-writer is really strong. Or even something like going back and forth with an actual model is not as strong because you still have the document right next to the co-writer. Like it's right there still with you. Like it's not like you don't without if you do this in like an actual somewhere else, you have to do it in the same text window as the work, and it like ruins the work. Whereas like this is its own bit off to the
Yeah,
side.
I think that's a good point. And like what a huge part of what I like about it is like if I were having a long chat conversation in a document, like I can do that. My project's going to get quite messy. I can organize it too, but I like having it alongside the document. I like being able to be like in this one when I came up with the idea for the magic cat. Like it had this idea of this, gibberish. And like I just pulled this right into the document like very easily. So for me, it's like it's a nice interface to sit alongside the actual work and build it.
Well, this is how it just like when I was on the call with that publisher, I was writing stuff down that happened. And I was like, oh, wait. And I do this all the time with clients. I'm like, wait, like, don't say any more words. I need to, like, I have an idea. I need to make this a thing. And so it very well mimics just like how you would actually do it. Like, this is how you, at least in my experience, and all of the clients that I've worked with, all of the co-writing relationships that I've had, even my own writing work, it's like, this thing that you're talking about something, even if it's like DMing a friend and you're like, wait. Okay, I need to go away for 10 hours and go write this thing. You just gave me a you don't necessarily know what's going to overcome that block. But once it happens, you just like, great, thank you. And then you vanish into the ether